Hello, this is Lord Lobo again with my series of tutorials for building Battleoids from Robotech RPG Tactics. We're going to build a model pretty similar to this one. I think I'm going to use a different set of arms though, and the single gun head. So we have one of the regular line guys, since the two models I've built so far is one is the officer 4-gun top and the other is a lieutenant like 2-gun top, so or higher power. So generally most of your models are going to be the single gun variant with these two heads. So I'm going to clip off a head first, since I haven't clipped it off yet. I'm going to talk a little bit about clipping. So you generally want to keep the flat end of the clippers towards your model surface, and that'll give you less to scrape, and also make a more accurate clip on the piece. So here you can see now I'm on a part that's going to be right on the top front and center of the model, so I want to be real careful about that and get off and let it drop down. So I'll put that sprue aside, and now I'm going to do a little bit of finishing. So I'm going to take a close look at my model and look for places where the piece connected to the sprue. And with this piece, the front torso is these two things here. I've already done a pretty good job on this one, just filing it off. And you have to be a little creative, since your files are usually going to be pretty solid. You need to figure out like what's the strategy is or what the best way to reach it and get it down. And it doesn't have to be super perfect. Some of it's might be hidden by the model later on when it's fully assembled, or some of it might just not be possible to get a really great finish on it. So just want to do your best. If you really can't get it smooth like you want it, you could try going at it with the knife. That can be pretty challenging, especially with these tiny little pieces. So be careful with it. So I'm pretty happy with the body here. I'm going to take a quick shot at the head. So the head has the top, which was attached to the sprue, and that's going to be really hard to get it just right. So I'm just going to try to hold on to it and pinch it here. It's also possible if you have trouble holding on to it like that, just use the clippers, since it's kind of a nice flat side on it. If I can ever do it. Well, maybe this doesn't work so well. Okay, I'm not going to do that. Anyway, just try to grab it the best you can. You don't have to use a lot of pressure to sand it. Let the file do the work. So this head's looking pretty good now. We want to make sure we got a nice little surface here, so when the head goes on, it's going to stick pretty well. So I'm going to set that aside. Now I'm going to take the lower torso half here. This one's actually pretty rough, so I'm going to need to finish it down pretty well. You need to pay attention to the leg joints on the sides. You want those to be filed down a little bit, so the leg pieces fit in better. So I'm going to do that. Just going to make sure the connecting piece is neat and flat, or doesn't have any rough edges on it. It's not really going to be flat because it has to be. It gives you some options there. And then the connection nubs, I'm just going to go around the outside and make sure that it's a little rounded off, so the legs fit in better and have a little more flexibility. It's a little challenging when you get to the point when you're putting the legs on the body. So when we're assembling this, we're first going to put the lower torso half into the body here, and you have a little bit of flexibility in terms of rotation. Like you could treat this as a hip, but not a lot. So you need to be a little careful about that, and you can also go forward and backwards too if you want. So now next I'm going to finish off the legs. I'm just going to have a few little nubs here. One note about gluing these pieces together is that you have a distinct front on them, and one of the nice things about the glue that I use that's Insecure is that it's thick and it's also gap filling. And so to have a better looking model, you don't necessarily want to overflow the ends, but at the same time, if you since there's little pegs inside that leg on here and here, we want to glue onto the indent of the pegs. So I'll show you on a incompleted sprue. So these the indented pegs is where you drop the glue, but then you also want to get glue along the front edge of the model, and the reason for that is that that'll help close that gap. And it'll look better. It's not going to look great right now because you can see the seam so distinctly in the without it painted. But when you get to painting it, that seam will go away. And if you want to get really detailed with it, Games Workshop sells something called green stuff that you can use to fill those gaps really neatly. But you can also go at it with the glue again and let it set. Just you have to make sure that the glue is completely dry before you do any painting at that point. So I'm going to finish off both these legs. One thing that I've been a little bit annoyed with is the top of the legs, which was the jet intake, doesn't always look great. So you'll even though there isn't any actual finishing there, you'll want to sand it off a little bit just to try to make it look more solid. So I'm just going to try and get that looking a little bit good. Another note is you'll notice there's always going to be a front and a back of the model. You really want to focus on making the front of the model look good. The back of the model doesn't always matter that much, especially if you're just building these to play the game with them. Alright, so now we have all the pieces built, or all the pieces kind of finished off for the torso and the body. So we want to put these together. So I'm going to get my glue here. It's always a good idea to keep some paper towel handy. I always keep pieces by, you want to keep the nozzle of your glue really clean, and it's just going to be an eventuality that stuff is going to get on it. But sometimes between dabs, if you notice there's a lot of glue built up around there, try to clean it off and keep that tip clean, and it'll be a lot easier to control and go with that. So, and you also have to think a little bit when you get to this point of how you want your model to look. So I'm going to go in kind of a bland action pose, not really aiming or anything like that. I'm going to use the two loose arms instead of one of the arms that goes like this. I'm going to go with a loose arm like this, except not this set exactly. So first I'm going to start out by dabbing a little glue. It's always easier to glue into indents rather than gluing on top of things. So I'm going to drop a little bit of glue. We'll see if we can make this look good. A little bit of glue in the indent here. And you can see it pulls up a little bit, but not too much. You want to use as little as possible. Now, so the thing about super glue is I can drop it in there and it's going to bond fairly quickly. However, there's a couple tricks that will make your life easier to get it to set a little faster. Is after you dab it in there the first time, take it out and wait a moment, blow on it a little bit, and that little bit of drying time it gets, and actually it looks like I just have a lot. I went a little too deep on that glue there. Given a little time to set and then re-sticking it together, it will actually set a little faster. So here we got it like this. I'm just going to let that sit there for a few seconds, and maybe, yes, there we go. So now it's glued on. It's not super dry yet. It takes a few minutes, so we want to wait with that for a little bit. While we're waiting, I'm going to grab the arm set I wanted to use. So we're going to go. I'm going to pull the sheet back over here with the arms on it, and I wanted to use set 3 here of the arms. So it's one arm with one gun on it, and then the right arm is this piece. And this one, you'll note the elbow or the shoulder piece has a really distinct indent in it. The reason is that it fits like that. So that's, again, you can usually kind of tell with all the arms like where they fit together, and this is one's go like this. So I'm actually going to be building this arm here. So I guess I mix and match these a bit, but that's okay. Actually, let's see what the other arm looks like. So this is set 2. That's the left arm. We want the right arm, the right set. Okay, and there we go. So this is a little more. This is kind of an in front set. Oh, that's a pairing set. You know what? We're gonna stick with set 3 here. So I put the forearms together first, and now I need to finish them. And I put a lot of these pieces together. I clip them off and I just put them together. but it's the smaller pieces are so much harder to finish. It's a lot easier to finish a piece like this with when you can hold on to it. So you can see I'm getting a nice flat surface there. And it's going to look real good when it's painted up. When gluing the forearms, again, you'll glue on the inside pieces like this. But you also want to get you want to glue here and then get a little trail of glue to this back piece, and that will help build a stronger bond and also just look better. So it can be a little tricky because it can rotate when you're putting it together, and you're almost certainly going to get some glue in your fingers. But try to build it so you get it one flat piece and it'll look real nice. So I'm just going to do some finishing on these 3 pieces here. Oops. Some of the pieces can be particularly challenging where they clipped around the hands, where you have to clip around the hands, you really want to try to keep that detail in there. So you see I'm using the corner of the file and trying to keep the fingers detail there. Unfortunately, it's really difficult. It's a poor choice of them to put a sprue mount against the knuckles, but we have to deal with it. Oops. These are even these are pretty hard to hold on to when you get down to it. So we got those finished off. I'm going to do a little bit of work on the shoulders here, and it's also notable that you don't have to do these perfectly right away. Once the model's fully assembled and dried, it's totally possible, and I've actually been taking these guys and doing some additional cleanup work on them. It's totally possible to go back and refix what you started, or make corrections after the fact. You really want to make sure that before you prime the model that you're really satisfied with what happened, though. So I've given the torso enough time to dry, so I'm going to take the arms out of the way for a moment. And now we're going to want to put the legs on. So there's a few strategies to this. I think I'm just going to start by putting the leg on. So I'm going to drop a little bit of glue in there. Come on. There we go, just a little dab, and then I'm going to, again, put them together and then take them apart, and I have a little bit of excess there, so I'm going to dab that off a bit. There we go. And then I'm going to set it, and I'm going to see that it looks pretty good from the side, and then just hold it there for a second. Oops, I'm going to screw it up. I'm going to put it back and let it set, and it should be done in a few seconds, and hopefully I haven't glued my fingers to it. You'll find sometimes that you'll do this and you'll get the piece on, and you'll touch that piece that you put the glue on, and then you'll try to hold it there, and then you'll be like, and it can hurt. You just peel your finger back slowly. It's not gonna be super painful. You're gonna be left with some crusty residue on your hand, but it will wash off after a few hand washes. Don't try to go at the result with a knife, though. That can be very dangerous and very painful, and yes, I've learned that the hard way. So at this point I've started the second leg, and now there's a little bit of a flatness to like the legs. Like you'll see this leg, this leg isn't great at all. You know what, I gotta finish this foot side here. There we go. So not a good idea to do it with glue on the piece, but I just did that anyway. See how the foot stands on the base, and it doesn't have to be perfect. Like, since this glue is so thick, we can make up for it with using a bunch of glue. So, and it's kind of hard to illustrate this with the camera, but right now I have a fairly good spot for it. So I'm just gonna hold the leg piece in and let it dry, and I have a little bit of attitude on it. The toe turned out. I think that'll be pretty cool. So that should dry shortly, There we go. And we see how it doesn't want to stand on the base. That's fine. So now I'm just gonna, oops, don't want to toss it around like that. Right now it's still a little brittle. It takes a few minutes for the glue to achieve its full strength. So now in gluing the feet on to the base, you can be really liberal. Oops, and you see that's still moving around. And then drop it on there. It's okay to be liberal because and you want to make sure your facing looks good, or you're centered on the base. It's really up to you. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you know, it'll look better if it's like that. But we don't want to worry about the glue too much because we might want to put some basing down there or something like that. So that'll help cover up the quote unquote flaw of the extra glue on the base. Finally, let's get the head on. So I have him at a little bit of an angle here on the base if we look at it straight on. That's fine. But I always want to make sure the head is like really close, matched up to the facing of the actual base. So this is a case where I'm going to use the tweezers to get this on, and I'm going to grab it by the antenna. Oops. This head is really kind of surprising me with how hard it is to grab onto. There we go. And I'm going to put it on, and it's not set right away, so you can just nudge it a little bit and achieve the pose you want, and really get it where you want it, and check it from every angle and make sure it's really how you want it to be. You know, you can make it, you know, lean it to the side and give it that kind of curious dog look, but you can also like look straight on at it with the arrow and see if the head is looking where you want it to see. So that one looks pretty good. And it's not super tight on there, but because I dropped a decent amount of glue on there, it's going to dry and get solid and be real good. So now that that's done, we can set that aside and actually get to putting together the gun or the arm assemblies. So I'm going to start with the right arm, which holds the gun. So I have the gun piece, the forearm and the shoulder, and the gun. So I'm just going to go over the gun real quick and do some finishing on it. Try to get some of these nubs out. So one of the things I've been doing is, you know, while I'm waiting for something to dry, or set even better, I'm doing some finishing on it, and it's a good strategy. You do want to make sure that your model that you're working on has some distance, so you don't get the particulate from sanding on it. But you do want to take your time with this. I think that's going to be the strategy regardless of the model in this whole set. So both Guardian modes and Fighter modes and all that stuff, you want to apply a piece, and here's a finished fighter. You know, these fins on the back are real temperamental. So are the leg pieces and the head. Like, you really want to be careful about how you put it together. You know, I didn't attach the base piece until the gun had completely set on the bottom, because that's like one point of failure for the whole fighter to break off on. So, and if that glue hasn't completely set, it can be a bit of a pain in the butt. And the same with the Battleoid or the Guardian mode. Like, I didn't put the arms on until well after the wings had dried. So you need to be taking time is going to be a good way to approach these models. So alright, so the gun looks pretty good in terms of finishing. I already finished the arm before. Let's make sure the shoulder looks really good. Okay, so we'll start out by gluing the shoulder together. So we already figured out that this is how the shoulder piece fits together. So you always want to take a quick shot and test it, especially with some of the pieces, like A and what's the other one I really hated? E. The arm doesn't fit super accurately. It's possible that in my research I didn't do it completely correctly, but you want to test fit them, and if you can't get a good solid fit, use your file to file it down and make sure at least that the elbow goes into the forearm correctly. And you can especially if you have a glue like this, you can compensate a little bit by just using a lot of glue to fill in the gaps, and then it'll become a solid piece eventually. Yeah. Okay, so that's going to be there. and I'm just going to get the glue on. So one thing I've noted with especially building these first two models is that there seems to be some choice when it comes to where the stock goes in some cases. So remember, the Battleoid mode is pretty much like a regular human being, so you want to put it in a way that looks natural. So in this case, just like on this guy, the natural point for this arm is stock on the inside. So, and remember, if you're confused about where things are going, make sure you look at the peg. That's always your first clue. So I'm going to put, so now this is a little weird because we only have this flat surface. There's no real connecting nub, so I'm just going to put a dab of glue on there. That was actually a little much. I'm going to dab it off a little bit. There we go. And then this is a piece where especially we're using a technique where you get the glue on both surfaces, and so we can fit it together kind of like that, and make sure there's some glue on the other surface. Just maybe want to put some glue on it, and then let it take them apart and let it dry for a moment, and then put it back together. And there we go. After a few moments it should set. Oh, it's not super great. So I'm going to do a hardcore gap filler here and just drop a bunch of glue in there. One thing that's important to note is that sometimes you can drop glue like this to like try to fill a gap, but if the first joint hadn't set very well, it could the new glue in there could cause that first bond to break down, and then it'll fall apart. So don't do that. So anyway, so I'm going to set that one aside, and fortunately the other arm is pretty simple because it's just a fist. Maybe we'll make this guy like holding an angry fist in the air. So I'm just going to make sure I got a good job on the finish here. That looks pretty good. This one could use a little help. I'm going to get this side here, and this here. There we go. That looks pretty good. And I'm going to do a quick test fitting here. So this is one that I said is kind of a jerk. So there's a few, first of all, you have to keep in mind that it's meant to be in one direction. So this is going to be a left arm. So we have to decide what the best actual fitting is. And we want to make sure it still looks good. So I guess if we want to make this an angry fist, we want it to be kind of like pointed up. So I can't find a great point here where it sits. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to glue the hell out of it. Drop a bunch of glue in there and just try to, I think I found like a good sit point right here. But another thing to keep in mind is you want the more surface area you have contact with, the better your bond is going to be. Because remember, the glue melts the plastic a little bit, and so you'll see I got a lot of glue like in the inside of the elbow there, and once this sets, it's going to be really strong. So that looks pretty good. So now we've given the rest of the Battleoid time to set, and it's in pretty good shape. It's actually really solid on the base now, and that's really great. And you can also tell the piece is really great. You can also see I got a little bit of a gap here on that. I might toss some more glue at that or something. I don't know. It doesn't. I'm not. This little piece I feel is like, oh, it's gonna be a problem. So I'm just gonna deal with the imperfection. But this arm is pretty dry now, so we're gonna get a little glue in here. Oops. And then pick out a spot. So the shoulders are pretty flexible in terms of where you can put them. You could really rotate it like this. You could rotate it straight up. You have a lot of play here with it. So use that to your advantage. Make a pose that you like. You remember, try to keep it kind of natural, human being looking, but use your own flavor. And you also note, like I could put some glue here between the gun and the front of the torso, and that'd be fine. Don't be too worried about covering up pieces of the body. Like when you're painting, you'll use techniques to make sure that those obscure pieces, don't have to look perfect. So just hold that there for a second, and we're good to go. And I'll do the same thing with the other arm. Hasn't been as much time But drop that glue in there. Come on. There we go. See, I'm getting a little bit of crustiness on the tip. I mean, we can't really see it in the white, but there's a little bit of glue, like a ring of glue forming on the outside, so I'm just going to wipe that off real quick before I put my angry fist up. There we go. Actually, that's going to look pretty good. And look at that. That's actually like bonding right there too. Oh, that bonded really fast. So this guy looks pretty happy. So that's pretty good. So that's a whole Battleoid. Feel free to comment or question in the comments. I hope this helps all our new modelers, and have a good day.